Welcome to IT Mastermind Talks, your access to insights and experiences from thought leaders in the IT services industry and those that support the industry. Our podcast features not only the seasoned professionals charting their start to exit journey, but also the key contributors who help ensure their success. We delve into the diverse challenges encountered within the IT services realm, encompassing both professional hurdles and personal obstacles. Join us, be part of our growing community and engage in the conversation. Hosted by Ian Markram of Loading Growth.
Great to have you on the show today, Nigel. It's been a bit of time in making to get to this point. I've been working with you for the last 6 months. It's been awesome. You've got a very unique spin on where you are and where you're going as well, which is exciting for me. You're not a traditional IT services company. So I really would like to talk to you a bit about the background and how the journey from where you started your IT career and how you ended up creating an IT services business.
Yeah, okay. Well, the background, I'll try to make it short, but there's been a bit of a background to it. So I didn't realise, I guess, that I had this strategic skill when I was younger, but I remember in some of the jobs that I had, you know, there was a job with a bank, there was a job with a fish market, there was some other jobs. And I was always thinking about, you know, the strategy. Okay, why don't we do this? Why don't we be better for the customer? And there was a lot of talk, particularly when you're in a low-level employee sort of job, you've got to do it because that's the way we've always done it. And that seemed to come up quite a bit. So when I went to university, I did business and IT at university, and I got out of university, I went down to Canberra and to the Pharmacy Guild of Australia, and what was happening down there back in the early 90s, so it shows my age a bit, but anyway, so the early 90s, and I got down there, and quite interestingly, the pharmacies were in a bit of trouble. If you remember back, they were getting less money from the government for prescriptions, and they didn't have any of the retail that they have now, you know, the big chemist warehouses and everything else. But what I saw there, okay, we've got these shops everywhere. There wasn't the night owls so much that are there at the moment. Why don't we get more into retail? And I did write a paper on that, and now it did definitely affect the pharmacies, and a lot of the pharmacies that could have gone broke actually succeeded and became what they are today. And they don't rely so much on the government funding of prescriptions. So that was a bit of a thing. And I think, okay, well, it didn't change well, but I changed a little bit. And just one of the voices, I suppose, in getting that change. Then my next job was, I wanted to get back to Queensland, Canberra's. don't mind the Northbourne Avenue getting out in particular, but yeah. So once I got back to Brisbane, I got a job with Queensland Police, and yeah, it was even more behind as far as the computing and stuff. So I arrived there, you know, I sit down at the desk, and there was a ashtray there still, and it was like a basically hot towel type of thing. You can get it hot and bring it out. And yeah, so I didn't smoke or anything. And the first thing that I looked around, where's the computer? So there's no computer. There was a couple of files. There was a couple of books and stuff. I looked around. I said, aren't I employed as a research officer in crime? How am I going to do that without it? So anyway, comes to the first task that I need to do. And what had happened, there was a big increase of crime in Cairns and around the far northern region of Queensland. So it's Queensland. So what I said, okay, well, I'm going to have to find a computer. So I looked around and there was one downstairs. There was a DBase 4, if you remember the technology. Yeah, DBase 4 was down there, loaded on that. I said, okay, well, this is good. Okay, so where do I get the data from? And they said, oh, well, we don't really have a major system at the moment. We've got this system 5 years' time will be crime recording and everything else. And I was thinking, well, I don't have 5 years and I don't want to get stuck into it. So I went downstairs and went down to level 6, and there was this big room and all these people. There was paper, and this is the crime stats area. And they said, I asked them, well, where's the crime stats for Cairns? And they said, oh, go over and there's this big lot of paper basically. It had all the crimes for far northern region for the last 6 months or so. So I grabbed them, went in front of the computer, boom, 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 entered it all in. Then I did know, that there was Justice Department that had information on, people and stuff and that we could use. So I was able to match it up, and lo and behold, the increase in crime in Cairns was one person.
So all that analysis got you down to one person.
He got out of jail, and it was the one person, and then I provided a bit of a report to it. There was then after that we had this monthly crime stats report, bit of analysis, and I got into that, doing that. But one of the things was, thinking a bit strategically, how can we use the
big problem.
IT? We can't wait 5 or 6 years for a new system, this crime recording system that was coming in. Let's get stuck into it. So did that job, and then I sort of progressed through the public service, and I started to do this, what we call enterprise architecture, which is a practice where you try to, manage and identify strategies and try to work out your IT. So what your applications you have, what technologies you have, how do they affect the business and all of that. So I was getting into that, and I really loved that. But then I moved into sort of more management roles, and got to a director role where I had 50 people. And I found that I was going off the tools sort of thing, not doing all the research and strategies and everything that I was doing before. So I was starting to get a bit unhappy about the whole situation. Then I did this master's unit. So I did this master's unit at QUT, and it was all about yourself. It had this GROW model, basically, where you look at your goals, you look at your reality, you look at your opportunities, and then you look at the way forward. So that's the process, and I do use that in coaching now. Mm-hmm. So looked at that, and I found out that, okay, what I want to be is an enterprise architect, and do my own thing and link it to strategies. I didn't know about strategic architecture at that stage, but I was thinking, okay, I want to do digital strategies and I want to do enterprise architecture. So from that point, started in the contracting world, and then it's sort of a change of career, basically.
Brilliant.
So it's a bit of a long story, but that's how I got to that.
There's always that story that's quite fascinating, that someone's moved through to get to a certain point where they actually can stand on their own feet and start an IT services business. It's not that easy, as we know, to have an IT services business. So it's always good to really reflect on that. The next, what was the sort of the initial steps? You've given us a bit of a broader overview of what, of your career, but what were the steps, initial steps to actually say, I can actually do this? Was there a client that you won directly as a contractor? And then, because what happened with my situation was I'd never wanted to be a contractor. I always wanted to build something, to be part of something. So it was either work in a consultancy firm or it was build a consultancy firm. So, that was my sort of my thinking at the time when I started my business. So what was the initial steps that you took to start your IT services business?
Yeah, well, it's from that point of being a director in government and having that security of government was hard to sort of move out of. So when I took that step to be a contractor, and that was with a major council, I was able to focus on the enterprise architecture. But what they got me to do, and what I sort of put my hand up for, is the strategy work. So I suddenly started doing the digital strategy, the information insight strategy, which was all about the data and everything else. And then I basically, doing these strategies, developed an approach. Yeah. And it was almost like a pivotal moment sort of thing when looked at that approach, and I showed a very senior guy, Peter Grant, the approach, and he said, "You've got something here." Yeah. And I thought, Oh, okay. So this is really something different, and that was the big difference that I thought, okay, well, hang on a minute, this is more than just contracting. This is actually,
Method. You got a framework. You got a method.
Yeah.
You're building your own IP. So that's great. Then I suppose that's where you thought, how do I take this to the world type thing,
Well, not at that stage. I wasn't thinking that big, but yeah, I was thinking about it. So yeah, so 2017, I think it was May 2017, I started up Strategic Architects, and from that point, I started to develop and talk to others, and particularly look at a strategic architecture approach, but also look at data and AI, because back then AI was definitely being talked about quite a bit, but it wasn't at the stage where it is now. So looking at the emerging technologies, and I guess with the strategy side, one of the other things about that was more not necessarily just developing strategies, it's more talking about technical concepts to an executive in ways that they can understand. So coming to the point with things. So say if you had a big discovery, and I know data scientists used to come to me all the time with big discoveries, talking about, okay, we've got this algorithm, we've done this, I've moved stuff from Python and images and everything else, but really starting with this conversation, we can reduce costs by 20%. We can streamline things, we can automate these processes, and really talking to the senior executives' concerns. So say a finance person would be interested in the cost reduction. Customer managers, they would be interested in, better services, better portals, those sort of things. The IT managers might be interested in new platforms or applications. So talking to their concerns and being able to sort of get to the point really quickly. Yeah. Probably not at the moment, but you know what I mean? Like quickly talk to their concerns and
so you'd be able to talk to different people at different levels and understand the pain points and how to address those pain points with some of the stuff. So one of the things that has amazed me when I've been working with you, Nigel, is the ability from a strategic architect perspective. When I think of strategic architect in my world, it's someone that's sort of in the back corner, scrolling away, doing some work, and out comes a couple of strategies or a landscape diagram or something to that effect. But you've got the knack to actually obviously get to talk to the executives. And early on, as we were coming up the lift early on today, you mentioned a CEO referred another CEO to give you a call and have a discussion about their strategic initiatives with their IT environment. And I think it's very, very different from what I expected a strategic architect type person to be. So I think it's congratulations on actually moving above that into the executive realm as well. I think it's
and they do say, what is this approach? One of the consultancies that we did, we basically come in there because of the complexity. They had 5 different lots of vendors working on different things. They had a massive cloud transformation project happening, and you have this poor sponsor that has all these project managers giving them highlight reports and everything's swimmingly, but they're going off in different directions. One of the things I did for that particular thing was did a business capability model that showed, okay, there's duplication happening in your Dynamics project here with your SAP ERP. You're actually both working on HR and some of the HR areas, and there's duplication. So you're creating, you talk about legacy debt, legacy technologies, creating more legacy debt, because future legacy debt. So being able to make things a lot easier to understand is what it's all about with strategic architecture.
Yeah. So you've got a really good brand at the moment. You're getting out there, and that's fantastic, and you're doing some really good work. But like everyone else, it couldn't have been that easy to start off with. So you might have had at least, I had in when I started out my business in IT world, there were ups and downs like everyone has. Can you just mention or go back to one point in time where there was a down and you thought, shit, we are not going to make it as a company, or this idea I have is just too hard to actually execute on? Is there something there that's...
Yeah. I'd probably say when we started to get a lot of work, I think that was one of the things was I couldn't be across everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you can be at a high level, but I found that we didn't have the processes in place, which you talk about a lot, that's what you're helping me with. So the processes in place to be able to, do a proposal, do up a high-level strategy. What are the steps involved? You know, so it's all up in the brains here, but it wasn't sort of implemented. So having myself too far over a lot of things was one of the issues. And I think you were mentioning to me a couple of months ago, I think, was have the frameworks, have the documentation and everything in place. When you talk to the clients, you're able to, you know, get the pain points. Remember that conversation? Yeah. See, I listened that day. Yeah, so get the pain points, understand it, then align it and really have your processes in place that you can implement your approach, but you can also implement it and tailor it to what we have. Now, one of the big things about strategic architects in comparison to, say a bigger firm is we really try to get from the senior executives what the themes are, the digital, the principles and everything else. We don't come with, okay, you can choose one of these 8 themes that we have type of thing. We try to get them from the particular people. It might be, you know, empower employees to deliver or improve customer satisfaction. Get it from them, and if they can own that particular theme or principle or whatever it is, then they can see it in the digital strategy or the corporate strategy that you've got. For sure. And I think that's really important. Is you can have all your processes in place, but you need to be flexible and to be able to tailor. And as long with that is one of the other things is to have regular updates and be able to provide that information to your sponsor and your guiding team, rather than keeping your information, show them a little bit, keep going and getting to the end report and giving it to them and they said, that's not what I was after.
Keep that sort of that vision that you have up front and their vision, because it diverges. The moment you start the work, it actually starts to divert. So you've got to bring that vision together all the time. Keep that vision together.
Yeah, and you've got to be listening and make sure that you are including in the work that you do the specifics of that industry. Now everyone says they're individual and whatever, but the thing about it is to make sure that that's the key component. So I think if we can keep that in our systems, I think it'd be really good. And have those regular chats with the sponsors and with the guiding team to make sure that we're on track. For sure. And provide them with the editable graphics and everything. Don't hold back. You provide them with the stuff. So when we finish, they might, okay, well, hang on, this wasn't done right. Yeah. So they can change it without giving them PDFs and stuff. And I think that's really important.
Good. Yeah. So what are the pivotal moments that sort of changed? You know, obviously it was a baseline of work you've done. Your business was going along. 2017, you kicked that off. And then there's obviously some pivotal moments that's actually lifted it up in growth. You've done some awesome things that I've seen, and I love it because one of the biggest things I always say to my clients in the space is you've got to be niche. You've got to be a thought leader. You've got to be out there, and you've got to put yourself out there. And it's quite difficult because all of us have a part of an imposter syndrome, effect. And there's a great book by Todd Herman, and he talks about the imposter syndrome. And I've worked with him, he's from the US, and he talks a bit about top athletes running onto the field. And they actually had this other vision of what they were when they ran on the field. They were like the Hulk, or they were Captain America, or something very unique. So when they ran on the field, they had this persona that they were special and they could do special things. And he actually took that through to the business leaders as well. So it's that imposter syndrome is really holding a lot of my clients back. It even holds me back to a certain degree every now and then. I think, am I really that person? Sometimes you're like, I am doing this stuff, but is it really? But you've sort of made that bridge and you've made that jump, and that's what really excites me when I talk to you. You've sort of gone above that. So what was a pivotal moment to say, hey, I can do this and I am doing it? Was there something?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of pivotal moments. I think coming up with that approach, I think was key. So it was to take the consultancy not only as a consultancy that provides a lot of good work, and we have an approach within ourselves and everything, is to actually get that IP out there. Because what I've always wanted to do, because I'm getting a bit older sort of type of thing, is give back a bit and try to do that. So we found that, strategic architecture and that strategic side is something that every executive, every manager can use that approach, and we're open and out front and working with you guys at the moment, loading that growth. The catch to it is to look at the courses and everything else that we can provide. We've been doing courses for a few years now through other providers, but actually set that up as something whereby we can get out there and we can really contribute across the globe and try to get across in that learning. So I think the pivotal moment to start that was when I started writing those couple of books that we got, because when we looked, okay, there is an approach here with the AI in particular, with the AI and data strategy book. It was, I remember when I first showed that to someone, he said, oh, this is really good stuff, but it's a bit early, isn't it? Like AI is, 2019, AI is not really happening. I said, well, it's a strategy book. Executives need to look at the future. So by the time when ChatGPT particularly got crazy last year, it was there and there was a plan in place. So I think it was really that giving back, writing books, writing courses, and being able to have that IP side of things. So that's been a pivotal moment.
So you've got the training. You do a lot of training for clients, and it's really good. You're going to do sort of more training online in the future and build a community around that. I think is really good as well. Give back to that community. I think it's fantastic. And then you've got your consulting work as well. So it really all ties in quite nicely.
It does, because I think if you've got a training organisation by itself and then you've got consultancies over here, the training organisation doesn't really have the latest, what's happening out in the market, what we've implemented, because our trainers, and I'm one of the main ones, is I can talk about the experiences. Okay, well, this worked, this didn't work, that type of thing, and talk about, okay, these are the frameworks and the approaches and everything, but actually have real life examples of what's happening. And I think that sort of helps as well. We do coach people a little bit as well, but it's mainly through the training exercise.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's been fantastic. So how many books have you actually written?
Yeah, just 2, but interestingly, I've got 3 on the roll, and we're associating each course with that. So the big one's going to be the strategic architecture book, but we've also got a strategic data governance one coming as well. But so the books hopefully will come out early next year.
Fantastic.
The new ones. Yeah.
To get them off Amazon.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great. The next thing is you really are strategic, and that's what I like about it. The name strategic architect, so that all ties in.
Yeah.
And you really think about where you're going and what you want to achieve with your business, and that's awesome. What about the company, things like company culture and everything else? Because your people are your products, and yes, you're going to in the future have online training products, and that's very good as well. But people are your culture. So, what's the culture in your team at the moment like? How do you ever look at that?
Yeah, for sure. So we do have regular strategy days, and whenever we finish a project like today, we're going out for lunch, we're going to, celebrate type of thing. So there's a good culture as far as that's concerned. Now, we looked at our values as well. Yep. So, and that can be that, things like listening and attention to customers was one of the things, trying to achieve the best quality that we can, be innovative, and of course, can't forget strategic sort of thing as well. So all of those things. So we've got a good culture, and we've got a induction program that we go through with every person that starts, and we try to have those regular strategy sessions every couple of months. So we've got that. I think the other thing about the culture is everyone has their own skills. So they have their own set of skills that are important. I don't have all the skills. You don't have all the skills. You know what I mean? Yeah. And what I found when I made myself too thin early on was that I was across too many things. Yeah. So in effect, I needed someone that was similar to me as far as that high level thinking. But we need other people, and I know I've been working with you on that as well, that we need people that can do the analysis and work, or we need people that can do graphics well, we need people that can do automated things, so, or, business analysis and that type of thing. So those other sort of skills that I'm not necessarily that great at, some of us aren't great at, so the mix of skills across the group is important, and we try to get people that are very competent with those skills to make sure that they're there. So you've got your values that everyone wants to be part of and include, but then the particular skills that they're important with. So for instance, we did application and information audit, rationalisation and everything. That required a couple of really good business analysts to get in the spreadsheets and get all the requirements and everything else. And they're people that just love it. They just love it. So they really get into it. And being able to just hand the job over to someone, you manage it, that's what they like. Generally, people don't want you looking over their shoulder all the time. This is what you have. And I think if you can be very specific, this is your role, this is what we want to get, this is the timelines, let them go for it.
For sure. Great. Look, it's interesting, some of those things you mentioned there, Nigel, around when I talk to a client that's coming on board at Loading Growth, I look at what services they provide, and a lot of these companies are trying to do just too much, and that dilutes the team, it dilutes the quality of work you can deliver, it dilutes the actual opportunity of winning further work, because you don't have the skills deep enough to show off to a client that you've got people that can solve their problem. So I like the way that you've actually really honed in on your areas and you've gone deep, which is really powerful. And if you think about the big consultancy firms that you would compete with in your landscape, they try and do everything, and that's the brand that they have and everything else. But the challenge with that is the staff that they have get diluted themselves, and they don't have a community, and they don't actually have a real purpose. At some point, they go 10 years into a big organization, they go like, what am I really doing here? I'm one of many. I don't have a home within the home as such. So that sort of brings me on to sort of the next point is, I see the companies that are really specialized in the niche and have a team, the teams are really motivated in the practice and everything else. Yep. So how do you motivate your team as well?
Yeah, so I guess motivating is pretty much my specialty in a way, because I'm always fairly excited and
a lot of energy.
A lot of energy. A lot of energy is always good. So we definitely have that like easygoing sort of a environment, and the people that we select are really keen to do it, and they work around family and stuff, and I don't care when they're working. They could be working at certain times, but we're very flexible with that, and I think that's key. So I have worked for a big consultancy firm like you're talking about. Yeah. I don't see that as a negative thing at all. It gave me the chance to talk to a lot of executives, and it gave me the chance to experience the templates and that everything, that approach that you can use, and got me across the CEOs and everything that was really good. And it did show me how to the motivation and everything that can happen. But as a small consultancy, you can't do everything to everyone. You're not going to get anywhere with that. So we've really specified government. So all our consultants have experience in government. They've used government before, and we've tried to target the government. And then we try to target the digital transformation in particular type of activities, or in the data space as well, quite considerably. So the motivation comes from having the right skills and etc. for that particular area, and keeping everyone on board. A lot of things are done on Teams now, and so we do that. So we try to come in on a certain day, all get together, have coffee, and we probably don't do as much work that day, but we get to collaborate and have a good time together. So so it's a combination of things, but having that experience of knowing what a big firms are like, it's been useful to be able then and have a smaller one and tailor things.
It's nice when you can create your own culture and your own vibe and the rhythm of the business. Yeah. And that's how you want to work. And if people follow that, then you get the right people that fit into your culture and your values system, which is really, really good. Now, on the flip side, people are complex. And people, as I was saying to someone last night over dinner, humans create chaos. You know what I mean? They do. So how do you handle conflict in your team?
Yeah, I probably did an error one time, I think. I was a little bit busy with work, and there was two guys that were coming onto a project. And I said, oh, I'll come back. I'll just leave you two guys to have a chat. And when I came back, it was both thought they were the leads on the project, and you got to report to me, you got to report to me. And it sort of didn't, it was a bit of an error. Like on the part, I thought they were just going to have a chat, but they were actually, trying to assert their authority. And I think I had a reflection of that, and you need to be clear on, okay, this is the project we're starting, this is the responsibilities, and have that high level sort of discussion at the start. Because if you get, there's an old saying about, if you got architects together, it's basically an argument going to be. So we do tend to have our own opinions with everything. So that's always encouraged, but try to listen to others and stuff. So able to sort of sort that out and get the roles and responsibilities and what everyone needs to do. So I think that's key. But yeah, it's just a natural thing, isn't it? There's conflict in life. So
it's definitely it. And when those teams, which I've seen work quite effectively, you could say to the person, look, on this project, you're the lead. And on the next project, Jeff will be the lead, whatever it is. And then you just have everyone just has a bit of a go around, because you've got a lot of senior people in the organization. So they all naturally want to be the lead. You know what I mean? So that is I suppose, the thing that you've got to sort of work through that. Well, that's good. That's good. So Nigel, what type of services does your company offer currently?
Okay, yeah. So we've got the services as digital strategy. So basically, we do a digital strategy, we do the workshops, we interview people, we come back, we make sure that it's right, we align it to your corporate strategy, your business strategies, and do that digital strategies. The other part of that is the advice component, is the digital advice, the boards and stuff, and being able to do that. So that digital strategies, potentially a roadmap, an IT roadmap as far as it is one of the services. The second one is the enterprise architecture, which got your basic stuff as far as applications and technologies, etc. You got your business architecture that's across that, and all architecture side, and it's definitely more aligned to your strategies and what we're doing. So the digital strategies and the enterprise architecture sort of melds together. Then we've got data architecture and data governance, so a lot of data work, and we've done a lot of that, and some AI, what are the emerging trends that can be out there. The other parts of the business is really, we have a human-centered design approach. So we use a human-centered design approach in all our arrangements, and then we have the coaching side, the coaching, training, courses, and everything else that we do. So it's all packaged up. Primarily deal with government. So we package that up with government, and we quite often start from that digital strategy lens, and then do the architecture, do the design. And then what we've also been doing is an evolving architecture approach in the delivery of the program. So you just imagine, you've done your strategy, you've done your architecture, but you've got your project delivery out there. We've been able to do an evolving architecture. Don't go to every meeting. It might be just a one day out of 5 type of thing, but we make sure that they're still hitting the strategy. They're not moving away from the strategy.
Keep them aligned. That's great, yeah.
And sometimes there's a reason they might be getting away from the strategy, because the customer has told them certain things. So in that instance, we inform the executive, okay, we've got to do an update. We're going to do an update of the strategy as well. So those are the main services, yeah.
Great. Pretty awesome. Can you sort of talk about a time where there was a success story or a case study or something that made you really proud? And, I've got some of those highlights in my career that we delivered something and the client was just, amazed for what they got. Have you got any sort of examples? You don't have to mention names or anything like that, but have you got any examples where you've walked away and the clients have said, shit, this was the best,
Yeah, we do. It's a couple of years ago with a commission in Queensland. We originally just had a small piece of work, really, and it was we're just doing a enterprise architecture work, looking at applications, looking at technologies, and building a roadmap of where we're going. They had a lot of replacement programs happening, etc. So just a short 2 to 3 months work based on that. But we delivered more. So we actually delivered a digital strategy because there wasn't one in place. We talked to the senior executives, we did a business case, and then we did the architecture. And it's a successful program at the moment. It's a year in. and it's delivering good outcomes for Queenslanders. So we got in there at the start, and then we were able to sort of guide it as the transformation came through.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A lot of work coming up with the Olympics next. I'm sure you're going to get involved in quite a few of those projects that are going to help facilitate that. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens over the future as well. What are the important lessons that you've learned as a business owner?
Oh, there's heaps. There's heaps.
I mean,
One major one.
You've taken so many, you've like me and most of my clients, you've became a professional person in a certain component of the industry, but you were never really a business owner as such. And then you left and you started your own consultancy firm. And even though it's been a successful journey so far, there would have been times and challenges. But what's around the business side that you didn't really understand or lack of? Some of my clients don't really know how to even read the financials. You know what I mean? So, but what part of that journey around that business have you you've learned or surprised you the most?
Yeah. So I guess from the financials, I wasn't too bad because I did accounting at university, and I find using the apps and MyOb and all's quite good. So I've got up-to-date financials at any point. Great. So that's a good thing. But I think I wasn't expecting to be like a business owner at first. Yep. Back in 2017, I was just about to have a child. So he's running around. He's 7 now. So that was like an interesting time to sort of jump out and start a business at that stage. But yeah, I think that was the key. So understanding the finances, getting that in order was good. I'm not a person that sort of is into marketing too much. Yeah. I quite often talk about that. I'm good at doing consultancies and talking to clients, but I'm not a person to sort of go out there, send emails and say, we talk about this a lot. So I think that's one of the areas that I could probably improve on or like have partners to sort of improve on, is to get the message out, I think. Yeah. So that's probably reflecting on that. It's been a building process with that, and we're getting some runs on the board now. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, you are a typical client. 90% of my clients basically are domain thought leaders. In a certain domain. And one of the things they don't really understand is the pre-funnel of marketing that leads into sales. They sort of understand the part of sales quite well because they've worked in a consultancy firm like you have had, and you've seen someone perform the sales role before, and you've seen and witnessed what a salesperson looks like and does. And so you've got the idea of sales, but you just don't know what happens before that process of sales. And that's a typical challenge a lot of my clients have, and that's why we do have an area around the marketing side. So, yeah, it's you are exactly like everyone else that I coach virtually. There's only a few people that actually come through from a sales perspective in IT services and that don't have the deep domain knowledge and such. So it's quite interesting. What trends you see coming up now? And you've already mentioned a few of the latest buzzwords. But what are the things that are coming up in the IT industry, and how are you preparing your business to service some of those trends and technologies?
Yeah, so probably there's two things there, like the use of AI, the use of generative AI in particular, which includes the chat GPT, using that to be able to automate your processes a bit more. Yep. And be able to get some of the knowledge and information that's across that. So it all needs to be checked and it all needs to be verified and everything else. So doing that and doing automation, I think, needs to be done. So if you're not doing that as an IT consultant, business consultant, you're not really efficient with your time and you're not really using the resources that are available. So we've always been across AI, even the image generation. We've done a lot of work, say, with the rubbish trucks and using videos and everything else. So we're right across that. So linking that is important to any consultancy now. So you don't want to be shutting that out. You need to be a part of that. One of the ways we do that with government is to make sure that there's things like a policy in place to make sure that the proper use of AI and those sort of things to make sure that you can get the technology in people's hands, but you've got the controls, your policies, your data governance, data security and everything in place. So we help government with that. The other thing is, so with AI, with the automation, with everything that's involved in, a lot of what we see now is going to change. The learning process, going through university and everything, is going to move from straight information, knowledge-based learning to those that we talk about. I did that article mentioned before, that strategic architects. So things like strategy, strategic thinking, innovative thinking, the ability to communicate, be able to empathise and everything. All these things that the AI really can't do so much, they need to be more important. So it will take a while for the learning process to happen, but it'll be like a lawyer's always been. So a lawyer knows where to look. They know the information, but they don't know all of the different acts and they know where to look. So we're going to be like that. We're going to talk to the clients. We're going to find out their concerns. Then we know where to look to get supporting material, automate things, and be able to be a lot effective. So I think those sort of things. So the service industries, there'll be a lot of changes. There won't necessarily be more sort of customer service people, but there'll be more customer managers, people managing processes. So you won't have 45 people at McDonald's running around making Cokes and stuff, but you'll have people, customer managers that'll have more responsibility and will be running the machines. You know what I mean? So the good thing is, if you're coming out of uni, you're just getting your first job and stuff, you'll have more responsibility with your role than what people used to do, and that is entry-level jobs from years ago.
Sure, it's going to be really interesting. My daughter is going to university in a year and a half's time, and it'll be interesting to see if there's any change between now and then. That's with that whole AI and the learning and how to consume that information. It's going to be really interesting.
Well, there's already been some change. Like when we originally did the Data to Insight book in 2018, there was changes happening then. So I couldn't hire a data scientist, right? Yeah. I had to hire someone that had done a mathematics degree. But now there's data science degrees, So that's already changed, and really you don't do maths, you do data science more now. So it'll be the same sort of change, and the education will improve in those areas. So, and there'll be times where you'll have, say, a workshop, no IT related, and people are assessed on doing that. And I've already seen these a few times already, doing the workshop and doing the communications and talking to others without the IT capability. So
it's great. It's going to be exciting times. It's never in IT. Continuous learning. You've got to keep on learning, and that's new challenges that are coming up. People are going to have solutions to solve those challenges.
Yeah, and it's an exciting time, and the individual skills that we have, we'll be able to utilise those, and we'll have more careers that are going to achieve what we want to achieve. More responsibility, more creativeness being able to be applied, and it's an exciting time.
Yeah, definitely. So I'd like to say thanks very much for being on the show today. It's been awesome, Nigel.
Thank you.
Fountain of knowledge, and you've got an awesome business. Very happy to be associated with Strategic Architects. It's a great company. I can't wait to see it progress over the next couple of years.
Absolutely.
So, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on IT Mastermind Talks. Don't miss out on our next episode. Hit the follow button and stay updated. Want to be our next podcast guest? Contact us and share your expertise with our audience. Visit www.itmastermindtalks.com for more information.